Hi, this is Jonathan with This Means Podcast, and I'm here with Tze Chun and Brendan Hay, the showrunner and executive producers behind Gremlins, Secrets of the Mogwai, and a Wild Batch. Rather, I'm excited to talk to you guys because I love this series, and it means a lot to fans and families as it's very unique in its execution. And I love the art style and everything. Can you talk about how the team was able to come back and give us more stories within this world of the classic 80s films?
Yeah, I mean, I think from the very beginning when we pitched the show, we really wanted to create something that would appeal to fans of Joe Dante's original movies, but also bring in new viewers. And so it means a lot to us that people have said like, oh, we can watch it with the whole family, not just the kids, adults, teenagers, everyone can watch it together. And we were really lucky with season two. We got a season two pickup before season one ended. And
Yeah.
so it really is the same creative team. We promoted some people within their departments, but there was a real continuity in terms of rolling from season one into season two, which was really, really, you don't always get.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so yeah, picking right up, Secrets of the Mogwai left us with a cliffhanger of Gremlins being as cargo on a cruise liner heading west. And now we get to go west. We get to travel with Sam Wing, Elle, Gizmo, and his family to San Francisco. Um, this story is very much ingrained with like an immigrant story. Was that the basis behind this new season and the themes that you explore?
Season one really tells a story of how, the old Mr. Wing from the original movies meets Gizmo when he was only 10 years old. It's very ingrained in Chinese mythology. From the very beginning of the inception for the show, we knew that eventually we wanted to tell the story of how the Wing family and Gizmo came to America. And it's a story that, around this time period was actually when my grandfather came over to the US. And so it was really fun to be able to tell that story and look at, what does San Francisco Chinatown look like? What does the Old West look like? And yes, it has a backdrop of kind of a immigrant family themes, but really it's also fun Mogwai chaos in the
Mhm.
Old West, cowboys, greatest hits of spirits and creatures from not just Chinese mythology, but now American mythology.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I will say also we kept as we were working on it, Mogwai make a great stand-in for whatever allegory you want to tell, but in particular immigrants, because they never quite fit in wherever they go, and are always trying to kind of fit in with the culture, but still create a lot of chaos and tension, possibly with the dominant culture. I know there's a lot to play with there, and especially in particular with Noggin and Gizmo as kind of the outliers of trying to fit into multiple worlds at the same time.
And they speak
Yes.
about as much English as my grandparents did.
Understandable. It's a hard language. Um, Diving into the more mystical, because Z mentioned it, we see Chinese folklore here with mystical dragons and the guardian lions. Um, were you excited to educate audiences on the significance of those creatures in particular? And are there any creatures that we can look forward to?
I mean, I think throughout the series, we've been so excited to be able to introduce American audiences to these like iconic Chinese spirits and creatures from mythology that I grew up with. Season one, there was certainly like a horror slant to it of, how does, what were the creatures and spirits that I was afraid of growing up, from stories from my parents. Season two, we have some fun surprises in terms of not just the spirits that we introduced to the show, but also the voice cast
Mhm.
that plays those creatures.
Yep, and it's we get to expand also beyond just Chinese mythology. We get to use a lot more of kind of American West mythology, also some tall tales and supernatural elements that are kind of baked into the American West. And we even get a Looney Tunes reference in there in the back half of the season around episode 8.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to be keen on looking for that. Thank you, Brendan.
Yeah.
Um, so this cast, as you mentioned, is already stacked. I mean, already have James Hong, you have Ming Na Wen, you have BD Wong. Now you're adding Simu Liu and a slew of others, including a really fun, and we haven't heard it yet in the first couple of episodes that we
Mhm.
got privy to, but John Glover coming back,
Mhm.
who is the villain in Gremlins 2. So what was it to build this repertoire around the cast? And I love how eclectic it is, and you pull from every which way, but you're also keeping in tone with, what Joe Dante started with.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that the tone is a big part of it. One of the beautiful things in those movies is the casting is so fun. Is bringing in everybody you'd want to see doing ridiculous things. Like you have your Dick Miller part, you have your John Glover, Robert Picardo. You had like all the Dante regulars getting to do these bigger than life, hilarious characters. So is one us wanting to honor that by trying to pull in some people like John Glover, but then also us kind of thinking along those same lines of who are people that we've always wanted to work with, who have also kind of that energy and that fun, distinct persona, or voice actors we've always wanted to just get to be a part of their career and work with them. So that kind of led to us having the fun. And as Z, as you've brought up in other places, this is probably the only show we've ever had where everybody we went out to was our first choice and they said yes. Like it'd be cool to get somebody like blank. And then it'd be like,
Sure.
oh, that person actually will do it because they are a fan of the original Gremlins or they just think this would be fun. So it was an amazing experience, and yeah, I wish I could rattle on about everybody specifically because there's a bunch, especially in the back half of this season, voice actors or just actors in general. I'd always hoped to work with that we got to.
Seeing Gizmo struggle to stay good is kind of heartbreaking. Was this addition everyone was on board with initially, or like did it take some convincing to get that idea pushed across?
We've been very lucky in that our partners at Amblin and Warner Brothers and Joe Dante, they've been so encouraging for us to, really push things, as far as we can, and whether that's delving into the Mogwai mythology, whether that's like, you know, pushing the characters' violence, scares as far as we can. We really want to figure out in season two what is like the craziest Gizmo emotional story that we could. And this was something I think we came up with in the very early stages of the writer's room. And I think for me, it was also, Joe Dante said something really interesting in our first meeting, which was, I asked him, what makes Gizmo so enduring as a character? Why is it that, even when people don't know who he is, like if there's kids that walk into a toy store, they immediately lock in. And he was like, he's like a baby. You want to take care of him. He's so cute. He doesn't know what things are. And, I think I thought it was funny to have him go bad the way that like when a baby gets angry or goes bad, it's very funny because they're just
Yeah.
a little human being who can't control their emotions.
I think that's very inspired, actually. So, taking its name from Gremlins, the new batch, you
Mhm.
have Gremlins, the wild batch here. In that film, it got more zany, it got more wild with the gremlin take. It had a bat gremlin, electricity gremlin, the Jordan Peele sketch, if you will.
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
did you guys throw a bunch of gremlins at the wall to see what stuck? And can we expect some wild ones in the later half of the season?
I will say I don't think this season we go as crazy in our variants of Gremlins. We had a bit of that fun at the end of season one when they had the knife of creation, all that kind of stuff. That said, we do get wilder and wilder and wackier with the Gremlins as the season goes on, to the point that I would say, especially again to you and your the podcast and the interests. Um, there's basically an extended our Mogwai version of like a Roadrunner and Coyote sequence in episode 9, and then episode 10 goes about as big and wild with Gremlins as anything this side of the end of Gremlins 2. Which was again, so Gremlins, I love both films, but Gremlins 2 especially is a place in my heart. So any chance to just approach that sheer scale of madness is my dream in anything I do.
Yeah, there's definitely a variety of Gremlins and Mogwai heavy set pieces I think audiences can really look forward to. It's one of the fun things about doing a season two, because in season one, as you're animating it, you're trying to figure out things like how do they walk? And in season two, you can be like, let's see how many of them we can put in one frame.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a ramp up over the course of the season to some really incredible, huge set pieces that our incredible crew and animation team put together.
Yeah.
I love the look of it. I love how it feels. Gremlins 2, the last Gremlin movie that we had was from 1991, and it also has a place in my heart as well. Um, that was so long ago. With the recent success of Beetlejuice, do you think now is the time for Gremlins to make their big resurgence? And do you want to see this prequel series continue and maybe even latch onto a live action variant in the future?
I mean, we certainly have many more stories to tell in the animated series. We talked about how, well, there's about 60 years in between season two and the beginning of Gremlins. And so, we're certainly available for the next 50, 60 seasons of the show. And in terms of Gremlins 3, we're as fans,
Mhm.
cautiously optimistic.
Yeah. I think that's definitely it's outside of our domain, but as a fan, I will be seeing it day one if it comes to fruition.
Absolutely. Thank you guys both for your time and congratulations on all the success that Gremlins brings to you. I really love this series and I can't wait to watch more.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thanks for having us on.